I'm Anil Kumar. Let me thank all the viewers and subscribers for taking keen interest in this series. So we welcome all students, middle school students, to join us and get ready for high school. So here is an application part of Pythagorean Theorem. We'll discuss question number 4 and 5, which are both application questions. In part 1, we learned the basics about Pythagorean Theorem, that in any right triangle, we could solve that right triangle using the relation between them as a square plus b square equals to c square. Right? So any right triangle, the hypotenuse square is equal to sum of squares of other two sides. And this formula can be written in different ways. We could also write this as a square is equal to c square minus b square, or b square equals to c square minus a square. So when you have to find the longer side, the hypotenuse, you add these squares, right? So c square is sum of the squares of a and b, but the other two sides, which we call as legs, are difference of squares. Perfect. So that is the key. Now let's continue with our questions. Question number 4. Perimeter of a rectangle is 36 centimeter. If the length and width are in the ratio of 1:2, find the length of the diagonal for this rectangle. Now this is slightly difficult for most of my students who have joined the group, but let's try to understand the concept. Now when we say perimeter of a rectangle is 36, so if L is the length, W is the width, then perimeter is 2 times length plus width. Correct? We are saying this perimeter is 36. So 36 is 2 times length plus width. Now we could divide by 2 both sides. So dividing by 2, we get 36 divided by 2 is 18. So 18 is length plus width. So sum of these two sides will be 18. Perfect. Now we are given second condition here, that is, if the length and the width are in the ratio of 1:2. That means what we are saying here is length is equals to twice the width. Then it is in the ratio of 1:2, right? So if length is twice the width, what should length and width be? That is what you need to figure out. Correct? So for length plus width of 18 and length being twice the width, what could be the solution? One way is to write length as twice the width in our equation. So we can say 18 equals to twice the width plus width. Since what we did here, we substituted 2w for length. So that gives you 18 is 3 times the width. So width should be 1/3 of 18, and that should be equal to 6. So if width is 6, then the length is twice. So now what we get here is that width of our rectangle is 6. So length is 2 times 6, that is equal to 12. So what we get here is 12 and 6 as the dimensions of our rectangle, right? So we need to find the length of the diagonal now. So still it is not complete. So basically this side is also 6, right? And this side is 12. So that is the dimension of our rectangle. What do we need to find? We need to find the diagonal. That is what we need to find. How can you do it? Using Pythagorean theorem, we can do it, right? So the diagonal, let's say diagonal is D. Diagonal will be how much? Well, the square of diagonal, t square, should be equal to square of these two added together, right? So 12 square plus 6 square, right? So which is, now you can use a calculator to find these values and then get the answer, correct? So we'll find a direct answer. So D will be square root of 12 square plus 6 square, right? So 12 square is 140. So let us calculate this answer. we'll do square root of 12 square plus 6 square. That is equal to, let's write it in decimals, as equal to 13.4, right? The units are going to be centimeters, right? So units will be centimeters. So our answer is that the diagonal will be equal to 13.4 centimeters. Correct? So I hope you understand how we did it. Now there are a few steps which are very critical to understand. One is that when we say the perimeter is 36, then half of the perimeter is sum of length and width, right? Which is 18. Perfect. Now second, ratio of side is 1:2. So if width is 1, length is twice the width. So we get like that. Now some of you could have tried the numbers out here. So we are looking for two numbers, one twice the other. So by trial and error also you could have got 6 and 12 as your answer, right? So this could have given you the answer by trial and error. But that is the algebra part which we do normally to get the solution, right? So once you get length and width, you can find the diameter using Pythagorean theorem. D square is equals to 12 square plus 6 square. And the square root will give us the length D. Units will be centimeters since the rectangle has a perimeter of 36 centimeters. Correct? So I hope that makes sense. Now let's move on and take question number 5. Question number 5 is another challenge question for you. Find the distance from point O to P in the given rectangular prism. So that is the rectangular prism whose sides are 4, 3 and 10. We need to find this distance from O to P, right? So we need to find this distance. How do we get it? You can pause the video, answer the question, and then look into my suggestions. Now remember one thing, that in a rectangular prism, all these sides, they are at 90 degrees, right? It may not look like, but this is like 90 degrees, right? This side here is also 90 degrees. Now how do we get it is, we need to actually work with the diagonal of the base first and then with the top. So when we have a three-dimensional figure as shown here, first step will be, we'll draw a diagonal connecting this part, right? So we have 4 and let's call this point as Q. Now look at it. The two sides of this triangle are 4 and this is 3, same as the other side. So we have a triangle here, right? So let's call this as R. So we know that the triangle OQR, right? Or we can write ORQ is a right triangle. Since we have angle R equal to 90 degrees, right? So we can apply Pythagorean theorem to find O to Q. So now OQ square should be equal to 3 square plus 4 square, which is 9 plus 16 or 25. So O to Q will be square root of 25, right? Which is 5. So we know this length now is 5. Now see, on the vertical side, where this is a prism, this is the height. Now we have a right triangle PQO, right? So now we'll work into the second right triangle. So we also know the triangle PQ and O is a right triangle. So we can again apply Pythagorean theorem here. This time PO is the hypotenuse, right? The other two sides are 5 we just found, and that is 10, right? So what is PO square equals to? That diagonal which we are interested in finding is 10 square plus 5 square. Square of the diagonal of the base times plus the diagonal of the height of the prism, right? So we could find P to O distance as square root of 10 square plus 5 square. Let's calculate this. So we have square root of 10 square plus 5 square, and this is equal to 5 square root 5 or 11.18. So it comes to 11.18, which we can round to 11.2, and the units are meters. Okay. So in this exercise, we have seen a lot of calculations involving square roots and squares. So I hope the earlier video on square root helps you to understand what we are trying to do, right? So if you have a square of something here, to find that thing, we square root the other side. Do you see that? That's how we do. So OQ square was 25. OQ will be square root of 25, which is 5. 5 times 5 is 25. That is how you get that. So that brings us to the end of part 2. We had question number 4 and 5, which are application of Pythagorean theorem. The calculations involved might be difficult for you to begin with. I'd like you to go through this video once again, understand the concepts, and feel free to send your comments or questions to me on my email address given below. Thanks for watching and all the best.